There have been unceasing attempts, even in the West, to control the web.
You've got mail.
There are all sorts of people who see the internet as a threat and who want to control it using whichever excuse will work in the politics of the day.
That's my problem with the U.S. I mean, we have the wiretapping on the one hand, and it's total invasion of our privacy. And then on the other hand, if you say something that the government doesn't like, whoa, we're going to have to take that down. And I mean, we're supposed to be the bastion of the First Amendment, freedom of speech.
The world is just becoming so connected that in Western countries, there's nowhere you can put the censorship anymore. The networks are too dense, flows of information are too great. You have millions of people creating their own content and millions of people consuming this content. And for the most part, they're communicating fairly directly with each other. And that makes it fundamentally difficult to censor. Nonetheless, it is clear that as the world becomes more connected, there will be the opportunity for nations to do bad things to each other.
Caught our attention today when he said that cyber attacks could soon be a bigger threat than terrorism.
The internet revolution of the late 90s and 2000s, I think, was sort of a culmination of this sort of revolution in information technology where the information just became too much for the state to handle and you had to decentralize power. It was the story of the fall of Eastern Europe and of communism, where basically things like the spread of fax machines enabled people to find out what was happening and to circumvent the official truths promulgated by institutions like Pravda in the Soviet Union. And at that point, it gradually unraveled when people learned what was really going on.
One of the biggest innovations in surveillance in the past few years has come about as a result of the spread of social networking sites and of social facilities and all sorts of other sites. Because once people make visible who their friends are, it's possible to do clustering analysis and start looking for covert communities.
I think the internet empowers anyone who can use it, and it empowers the people who can use it most effectively even more. It can empower a government to repress an insurrection. It can empower the insurrection itself. Look what happened in Iran.
Supporters of opposition leader Mir Hossein Mousavi are using the Shiite Muslim festival of Ashura to revive protests against the clerical and political establishment.
Victory won completely fairly. The words of Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in his first public appearance since his resounding re-election. He was speaking at the end of a day of unprecedented protests in parts of the capital, Tehran. Thousands of young opposition protesters spilled out onto the streets in a spontaneous outburst of anger against what they said was a rigged election.
You had this groundswell of popular support expressed on Twitter, for example, and through blogs. It was just crushed. And the regime, Ahmadinejad, began using Twitter against his opponents very effectively, spreading horrendous lies and misinformation, bytes of misinformation by the thousands. So again, it's a double-edged sword.
It's reckoned that online resources have been used by people who are spreading Islamist ideas with some moderate effectiveness in whipping up support worldwide.
ISIS is one group using social media to spread its message and to recruit fighters. Twitter and Facebook are known to take down accounts and content associated with terrorism, but they often rely on complaints from users. A new study published by the Brookings Institution analyzed thousands of ISIS-supporting Twitter accounts. As you can see on the chart, it found a rapid escalation in the number of accounts created each year.
It's only part of a mix. Because part of that is recruiting people through mosques, spreading information by face-to-face contact by preachers, spreading information by circulating books and pamphlets. It's also important to realize that the web makes available great resources of surveillance, And it's well known in the trade that organizations such as the FBI have the main Islamist websites very thoroughly instrumented, and they pay an awful lot of attention to who goes there.
Despite what the boosters of the internet say, technology, no kind of technology is a cure for human nature. Technology is an amplification of human nature.